What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Imagine standing in front of thousands of people, under the bright lights of a world-famous tech conference, feeling the weight of the moment press down on you, and then being asked a question so unexpected that it stops the crowd, and even Elon Musk, in his tracks. This story begins with such a moment. It was a chilly autumn morning in San Francisco, the air buzzing with anticipation as tech enthusiasts from across the nation gathered to witness the latest innovations in space technology. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur known for pushing humanity's boundaries, was on stage, ready to share his vision for colonizing Mars. As the crowd hung on every word, a small voice from the audience interrupted the flow. It belonged to a 10-year-old girl named Ava Reynolds, whose simple yet profound question would leave Elon Musk speechless and inspire thousands. What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? What would you do? She asked, her eyes steady and unwavering despite the thousands of curious gazes upon her. The silence that followed was deafening. The kind of silence that stretches and pulls at the edges of your soul, waiting for an answer. But this wasn't just any question. It was a challenge, a window into a world of resilience, hope, and unyielding courage. Ava's voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone who had faced unimaginable hardships, someone whose life story was yet to be told. The crowd leaned forward, hanging on to every syllable as Elon paused, his usual confident demeanor replaced by a rare moment of vulnerability. This wasn't the response anyone expected from a 10-year-old, especially not at a conference filled with engineers, scientists, and visionaries. But Ava's answer didn't just surprise Elon Musk, it changed the way many saw hope and determination. Before we dive deeper into her story, I want to invite you to hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Ava Reynolds was not your average kid. Born in a modest suburb of Columbus, Ohio, she had an insatiable curiosity about the universe from a very young age. While other children played with dolls or video games, Ava spent hours gazing at the stars, dreaming of rockets and distant planets. Her bedroom walls were plastered with posters of astronauts and galaxies, and her favorite bedtime stories were about space explorers. But Ava's passion wasn't just a childhood whim, it was rooted in a deeper, more personal history. Her father, a brilliant scientist working for NASA, had ignited her love for space exploration before he passed away unexpectedly when Ava was just 6. The loss shattered her world, leaving a void filled with unanswered questions and a profound loneliness. Her mother, Karen, a nurse working double shifts to keep the family afloat, did her best to shield Ava from the harsh realities of life, but the emotional scars ran deep. Ava's resilience came not from a place of privilege but from the strength born out of hardship and the unbreakable bond she shared with her late father's memory. School was no easy place for Ava either. Her advanced intellect often set her apart, making her a target for bullying and isolation. Yet, she found solace in her friendship with Jamie, a spirited and loyal classmate who believed in her dreams even when others doubted. Together, they navigated the ups and downs of childhood, supporting each other through every challenge. The turning point in Ava's young life came when she heard about a nationwide contest sponsored by Elon Musk's foundation, seeking innovative solutions to future space challenges from the brightest young minds. It was an opportunity Ava couldn't resist. With her mother's encouragement and Jamie's unwavering support, she decided to enter, hoping to make her father proud and prove that even a kid from a small town could dream big. The journey was anything but smooth. Ava faced countless setbacks, failed experiments, skeptical teachers, and moments of crippling self-doubt. But with each failure, she learned, adapted, and pushed forward. When her first prototype collapsed during a local presentation, the sting of public failure nearly crushed her spirit. Yet, just when she was ready to give up, a retired NASA engineer named Mrs. Wilson stepped in to mentor her, rekindling the spark of hope and guiding her through the complexities of her project. Months of relentless work followed, filled with late nights, intense research, and the kind of determination that only a child with a powerful dream could muster. The contest day arrived with a mix of excitement and nerves. Ava stood on stage among competitors from across the country, each presenting ideas that could change the course of space exploration. When it was her turn, she spoke not just about technology but about hope, resilience, and the human spirit. After all presentations, Elon Musk posed a question that seemed simple but cut to the core of every dreamer's struggle: what drives you when everything seems lost? Ava's answer, rooted in her own story of loss and hope, was so unexpected and profound that even Elon Musk was left speechless. It was a moment that resonated far beyond the walls of the conference hall, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the human spirit can shine the brightest. As the story unfolds, you'll discover how Ava's journey from a small Ohio town to the global stage is filled with trials, triumphs, and life-changing lessons. It's a story of love, sacrifice, and the power of belief. A story that asks us all to reflect: what pushes us forward when the world feels like it's falling apart? So, buckle up, and get ready to dive into the life of a remarkable girl whose answer didn't just leave Elon Musk speechless, it left the world inspired. Remember, hit subscribe and share your thoughts below. Your story might just be the next one to spark a new beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Ava Reynolds was not your typical 10-year-old girl. She was quiet, observant, and possessed a mind that seemed far older than her years. Growing up in the quiet suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, Ava's world was a blend of ordinary routines and extraordinary dreams. Her home was a small, cozy two-bedroom house on Maple Street, with faded blue walls covered in star charts and pictures of rockets that her father had once brought home from his NASA office. Despite the modesty of her surroundings, Ava carried a universe of curiosity within her. From the moment she could talk, she asked questions that baffled even adults: why do stars twinkle? How do rockets fly? Could humans really live on Mars someday? These questions weren't just fleeting interests, they were the threads weaving through every part of her young life. Ava's mother, Karen Reynolds, was a nurse at the local hospital, working long shifts to support the family after the sudden death of Ava's father 3 years earlier. Karen was a woman of quiet strength, balancing the pressures of work, grief, and raising her daughter alone. She often worried that Ava's big dreams were too fragile for their tough reality. But Karen also understood that her daughter's mind was a gift. One that needed nurturing and protection. Ava's father, David Reynolds, had been a shining light in their lives. A physicist and engineer at NASA, he was the source of Ava's passion for space and science. Before his untimely passing, David spent countless evenings teaching Ava about the stars, showing her constellations and telling her stories of astronauts and space missions. His favorite phrase was, "Reach for the stars, Ava, because even if you miss, you'll land among the dreams." These words echoed in Ava's heart, guiding her through the darkest days after his death. At school, Ava was both admired and misunderstood. Her intelligence set her apart from her classmates, and she often felt like an outsider in a world that didn't quite know how to handle a child who could solve math problems meant for teenagers and recite facts about the solar system with ease. She didn't fit into the typical mold, and this sometimes made her a target for teasing. But Ava was resilient. She found comfort in books and her best friend Jamie, a cheerful and loyal boy with a knack for making her laugh even on the worst days. Jamie didn't care that Ava was different, he saw her for who she truly was, a bright, kind soul with a fire in her eyes. Together, they spent afternoons exploring the woods behind their neighborhood, dreaming up stories of space adventures and alien worlds. Ava's daily routine was a balancing act between school, homework, and her secret passion projects: miniature rockets made from scrap materials, experiments with solar panels, and notebooks filled with ideas for inventions that could change the world. Her bedroom was her laboratory, where the glow of her desk lamp illuminated pages of sketches and calculations late into the night. Despite the challenges she faced, Ava's spirit was unbreakable. She was driven not just by curiosity but by a deep sense of purpose. She wanted to honor her father's memory and prove to herself and the world that even a small-town girl could dream big and make a difference. Her mother often watched her with a mixture of pride and concern. Karen knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also believed in Ava's potential. She did everything she could to support her daughter's dreams, from buying science kits on her modest salary to attending every school event, cheering the loudest from the sidelines. Ava's teachers noticed her talent early on. Mrs. Harris, her fifth-grade science teacher, was particularly impressed. She encouraged Ava to join the school's science club and helped her enter local competitions, where Ava's innovative ideas began to shine. But it wasn't just about awards or recognition for Ava, it was about the thrill of discovery, the magic of creating something new from nothing. One summer afternoon, Ava and Jamie stumbled upon an old telescope in the attic of her grandmother's house. The telescope was dusty and forgotten, but when Ava peered through it, the universe seemed to open up before her eyes. She saw the rings of Saturn, the craters on the moon, and a sky full of endless possibilities. That moment solidified her dream, to become an astronaut and maybe, one day, step foot on another planet. But Ava's journey wasn't without its shadows. The loss of her father left a hole that sometimes felt impossible to fill. There were nights when the silence of her room felt overwhelming, and tears came unbidden. Her mother's comforting presence was a lifeline, but Ava also learned to find strength within herself. She carried her father's old watch, a small, worn piece with a cracked face, as a reminder that time was precious and every moment counted. Friends at school didn't always understand her. Some called her Space Girl or Brainiac, teasing names that stung but never broke her resolve. Ava learned to wear these labels like armor, letting them slide off while holding tight to her dreams. Jamie stood by her side through it all, his friendship a beacon of normalcy in a world that often felt strange. One evening, as the two sat on the roof of Ava's house, watching the sun set behind the distant hills, Jamie asked, "Why do you keep dreaming about space, even when it's so hard here?" Ava smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "Because out there, beyond the stars, there's hope. If people can dream big enough, maybe they can change the world. I want to be part of that change." This was Ava's truth, her reason for waking up every day with determination and wonder. Her mind was a playground of ideas, and her heart held an unshakable belief that the future was hers to shape. As the years went by, Ava's reputation grew beyond her small town. Local newspapers picked up on her science projects, and her mother's sacrifices became part of the narrative of a family holding on to hope. But for Ava, the real journey was just beginning. When news of the nationwide contest hosted by Elon Musk's foundation reached her school, Ava saw an opportunity. The challenge was to propose innovative solutions for humanity's future in space, a perfect match for her passion and skills. The contest promised more than a prize, it offered mentorship, resources, and a chance to bring ideas to life on a grand scale. Ava and Jamie immediately began brainstorming. Nights were spent sketching designs, researching renewable energy sources, and dreaming of rockets powered by clean fuel. Ava's ideas were bold and ambitious, inspired by her father's legacy and fueled by her desire to make a difference. But even with excitement and hope, doubts crept in. Could she really compete against kids from wealthy families with access to expensive technology and tutors? Did she have what it took to stand on a national stage? Her mother's words were a steady anchor. "You've got something special, Ava. Don't let fear hold you back. Your dad believed in you, and so do I." Encouraged, Ava threw herself into preparation, juggling schoolwork and experiments with a tenacity that amazed those around her. She built models from recycled materials, tested solar panels in their backyard, and wrote detailed reports explaining her vision. Jamie was her steadfast partner, helping with presentations and offering moral support when frustration threatened to overwhelm her. The contest was more than a competition, it was a proving ground for Ava's resilience, creativity, and heart. Through every setback, from failed experiments to moments of exhaustion, Ava learned lessons about patience, adaptability, and the power of hope. Her story was one of quiet strength, a reminder that even in the face of loss and adversity, dreams could soar higher than the stars themselves. As Ava prepared to take the next step toward the contest, little did she know that her journey would soon capture the attention of the world and challenge even the greatest minds, including Elon Musk himself. The girl from Ohio, with a cracked watch and a universe in her eyes, was about to ask a question that would leave a billionaire speechless and inspire millions. And this was only the beginning. Ava's family was the cornerstone of everything she was and everything she hoped to become. To understand her story fully, you have to see the delicate threads of love and loss that wove through her childhood. Her mother, Karen Reynolds, was a woman shaped by quiet resilience. She had been a nurse for over a decade, often working night shifts and weekends to make sure Ava had what she needed. Karen's life was far from easy, especially after David's sudden death in a car accident when Ava was only 6 years old. David Reynolds had been more than just a husband and father. He was a brilliant scientist who inspired Ava's passion for the stars and was her biggest cheerleader. His unexpected passing shattered the family's world. Karen found herself suddenly alone, responsible for raising a bright but grieving child while managing the weight of her own heartbreak. Ava remembered the days after the accident like a fog. The house felt emptier, the stars less bright. She clung to her mother, sensing her sadness even when Karen tried to hide it behind a brave smile. The evenings were hardest. Karen would tuck Ava into bed and tell her stories about her father, stories filled with hope and wonder. "Your dad loved you more than the universe," she'd whisper. "He wanted you to dream big, to reach for the stars." These words became Ava's lifeline. The pain of loss was always there, but so was the light of her father's memory, guiding her through the darkness. Karen's sacrifices were many. She worked double shifts, took extra jobs, and managed the household on a tight budget. There were times when the refrigerator was nearly empty and the heating bill too high, but she never let Ava feel the burden. Karen saved every penny she could, knowing that her daughter's dreams depended on more than just hope, they needed support. Despite the hardships, their small home was filled with love. Family dinners were rare but cherished, moments where the world paused and the two could simply be together. Karen and Ava talked about everything: the stars, school, fears, and dreams. Karen encouraged Ava's curiosity, even if it meant staying up late to help with science projects or listening patiently to endless questions about rockets and planets. Ava's bond with her mother was the quiet strength beneath her brilliance. It was a relationship built on mutual love, respect, and an unspoken understanding of each other's pain and hopes. But the shadow of loss loomed large. Ava missed her father deeply. She often found herself staring at the cracked watch David had given her on her 7th birthday, a small, worn piece that ticked faintly but never stopped. To Ava, it was a symbol of time's fragility and the preciousness of moments shared. Every time she felt overwhelmed or alone, she would hold the watch and remember her father's words: "No matter what, keep moving forward." Ava's memories of her father were vivid. She remembered his laugh, the way his eyes sparkled when he talked about the stars, and how he would kneel beside her to explain the mysteries of the universe in simple terms. He taught her that science was not just about facts and figures but about curiosity, creativity, and the courage to explore the unknown. His encouragement was the foundation of Ava's confidence. Without him, the world seemed colder, but his legacy lived on in her dreams and determination. Family photos lined the walls of their home, frozen moments of happier times. One picture in particular showed David holding a young Ava on his shoulders, both grinning under a night sky lit by stars. Karen often looked at that photo with a mixture of sorrow and pride, seeing the future her husband had imagined reflected in their daughter's eyes. Ava's relationship with her extended family was complicated. Her grandparents, especially on her father's side, were distant and didn't quite understand her passion for space or her ambitions. They wanted Ava to live a simpler life, focused on stability and security rather than chasing lofty dreams. This created tension, but Ava remained steadfast, knowing her path was her own. At school, Karen's presence was a steady force. She volunteered when she could, attended parent-teacher meetings, and did her best to advocate for Ava in a system that often overlooked gifted children with emotional challenges. Karen's quiet determination was an unspoken promise to Ava that she would never give up on her daughter, no matter how tough things got. When Ava was 9, her mother surprised her with a trip to the local science museum, a place Ava had dreamed of visiting for years but had never seen. As they wandered through exhibits of rockets, planets, and astronauts, Karen watched her daughter's face light up with awe and wonder. It was a rare moment of joy that strengthened their bond. One day, Ava, Karen said softly, "I want to see you up there, reaching those stars." Ava smiled, feeling the weight of her mother's faith in her, and made a silent promise to make that dream a reality. Despite the strength of their relationship, Ava's mother worried about her daughter's emotional well-being. She knew Ava carried the burden of loss and loneliness in ways few could see. Karen often stayed awake at night, listening to Ava's soft breathing, wondering if her daughter's bright mind was also a fragile heart. She encouraged Ava to express her feelings, to seek help when needed, and most importantly, to hold on to hope. The mother-daughter duo developed their own rituals to cope with grief and build resilience. Every Sunday, they would visit the small park near their house, sit under the tallest oak tree, and talk about their week, dreams, and fears. These moments of quiet connection gave Ava strength and reminded her that she was not alone. It was also where Ava began to understand that love was not about never feeling pain but about choosing to keep moving forward despite it. Through it all, Ava carried the lessons of sacrifice, hope, and love like a shield. She learned that family was more than just blood, it was the people who stood by you when everything seemed lost. Her mother's unwavering support and her father's memory became the twin pillars that held her up, even on her darkest days. This foundation of love and loss would become the driving force behind Ava's journey, shaping her character and fueling her determination to rise above challenges. As Ava prepared to take on the nationwide contest that could change her life forever, these family ties were never far from her mind. Every step she took was a tribute to the sacrifices made and the love that endured. Her story was not just about science and space, it was about the human heart's capacity to heal, hope, and reach for the impossible. And it was this story that would soon inspire not only Elon Musk but millions around the world to believe in the power of dreams born from love and loss. Ava's journey toward the nationwide space innovation contest was anything but smooth. The excitement that had filled her heart when she first heard about the competition soon met the harsh realities of doubt, failure, and growing pressure. What began as a bright dream became a test of her resilience and resolve. The first major hurdle came at school, where Ava's unique talents didn't always earn applause. Her science teacher, Mrs. Harris, had encouraged her from the start, but other teachers were skeptical. They often reminded Ava to keep her expectations realistic. "You're brilliant, Ava," they would say, "but space exploration is for grown-ups with years of experience and resources you simply don't have." Those words stung. Ava had learned early on that intelligence alone wasn't enough, there were barriers she had to overcome that had nothing to do with her skills. Meanwhile, the contest itself demanded more than just ideas. It required execution, prototypes, detailed presentations, and the ability to inspire judges. Ava knew her concept for a solar-powered propulsion system was innovative, but building it from scratch was another story. Using scrap materials and borrowed tools, she spent countless evenings assembling parts in her small bedroom laboratory, which sometimes looked more like a disaster zone than a workspace. Wires tangled, pieces broke, and setbacks mounted. One night, after her prototype failed spectacularly, sparking a small electrical short, Ava sat on the floor, tears blurring her vision. The crushing disappointment threatened to swallow her dreams whole. Jamie found her there, surrounded by the wreckage of her project, and without a word, sat down beside her. "You're not alone," he whispered, handing her a tissue. "We'll fix this together." His friendship was a lifeline during these dark moments. Slowly, Ava learned to embrace failure not as defeat but as a necessary step in discovery. Every breakdown revealed a new problem to solve, a new lesson to learn. But outside her lab, the pressures only grew. At school, the teasing intensified. Some kids called her space freak, while others whispered that she was too weird to fit in. Ava's confidence wavered. She questioned whether her dreams were worth the loneliness and ridicule. The weight of expectations, from her mother, her teachers, and herself, felt overwhelming. Karen noticed the change in Ava. The sparkle in her daughter's eyes dimmed on some days. One afternoon, after Ava returned home from a particularly tough day, Karen sat her down in the kitchen. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "it's okay to feel scared or tired. But remember, every great journey has bumps in the road. Your dad faced challenges too. What matters is that you don't give up." Those words reignited Ava's spirit. She remembered her father's watch on her nightstand and took comfort in the steady tick-tock that symbolized time moving forward. Inspired, Ava threw herself back into her work with renewed determination. She began seeking help beyond her immediate circle. At the local library, she found books on engineering and physics written for young readers. Online forums connected her with amateur rocket builders and science enthusiasts who offered advice and encouragement. A breakthrough came when Mrs. Wilson, the retired NASA engineer who had noticed Ava's potential at a community science fair, offered to mentor her. Mrs. Wilson's guidance was a game-changer. She helped Ava understand complex concepts and taught her how to troubleshoot problems systematically. With Mrs. Wilson's help, Ava redesigned her propulsion system, replacing faulty parts with more reliable materials and improving efficiency. Each small success brought fresh hope. But as the contest deadline loomed, a new source of conflict emerged. Ava's extended family, particularly her grandparents, voiced concerns. "Why waste time chasing dreams that won't pay the bills?" her grandmother asked during a rare family gathering. "Focus on school, get a steady job, and don't get lost in fantasies." These words stung deeply, shaking Ava's confidence. The pressure to conform to expectations battled with her desire to follow her passion. This clash created moments of self-doubt that threatened to derail her progress. Still, Ava refused to give up. She found strength in the support of her mother and Jamie, who reminded her daily of her worth and potential. They celebrated every small victory, finishing a part, acing a presentation, or simply surviving a tough day. As the contest approached, Ava prepared her final presentation with care. She practiced speaking clearly and confidently, knowing that inspiring the judges was as important as the technical details. The night before the competition, she lay in bed thinking about how far she had come, from a lonely girl dreaming under the stars to a contender on the national stage. Yet, an undercurrent of fear remained. What if she failed? What if her ideas weren't good enough? The morning of the contest brought a whirlwind of nerves and excitement. Ava and her mother traveled to the conference center in San Francisco, the city buzzing with innovation and ambition. The hall was filled with young inventors and their families, all hoping to make their mark. Ava's hands trembled as she set up her display, but her heart beat with quiet determination. When it was her turn to present, she took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The lights were bright, the audience vast, but Ava focused on her mission. She spoke passionately about her solar propulsion system, explaining its potential to reduce fuel costs and increase efficiency for future space missions. Her words carried the weight of personal experience and hope for the future. Then came the question from Elon Musk himself: what drives you when everything seems lost? The question cut to the core of Ava's journey, the struggles and triumphs hidden behind the science. Ava's answer was simple but powerful, rooted in love, loss, and an unshakable belief in hope. The room fell silent as Elon Musk, a man known for his confidence and quick wit, paused. The moment was electric. Ava had not just answered a question, she had shared her soul. That silence was the start of something bigger. A shift in how people saw resilience, determination, and the dreams of a 10-year-old girl from Ohio. Yet, the conflict didn't end with the presentation. In the days following the contest, Ava faced new challenges: media attention, public scrutiny, and the pressure of living up to the unexpected spotlight. Not everyone was supportive. Some questioned whether a child could really contribute meaningfully to space exploration. Others accused her of being a media stunt or doubted her technical skills. These voices tested Ava's resolve anew. But her journey had taught her one thing: conflict and doubt are part of growth. Every challenge was an opportunity to learn, to prove herself, and to inspire others facing their own battles. With the support of her mother, Jamie, and Mrs. Wilson, Ava kept pushing forward, her eyes set on the stars and a future only she could imagine. This chapter of her life was marked by trials and doubts, but also by hope. A hope that no matter the obstacles, a dream fueled by love and determination could shine brighter than the darkest night. Ava's life took a dramatic turn the morning after the contest when Elon Musk himself reached out with an invitation that seemed almost unreal. She was to visit SpaceX headquarters in California, a place she had only dreamed about through books and videos. The opportunity was thrilling but also daunting. It marked the beginning of a new journey filled with even greater challenges and discoveries. When Ava and her mother arrived at the sprawling SpaceX campus, the scale of innovation and ambition took Ava's breath away. Sleek rockets towered against the sky, engineers bustled through glass corridors, and the hum of technology was everywhere. Elon Musk personally greeted them, his presence both intimidating and inspiring. "Welcome, Ava," he said, shaking her hand firmly. "We're excited to see what you bring to the table." The days that followed were a whirlwind of workshops, meetings, and hands-on projects. Ava found herself immersed in an environment where ideas moved fast and failure was just a step toward success. Yet, the intense pace tested her endurance. She struggled to keep up with experienced engineers and scientists, sometimes feeling like an outsider in a world that demanded perfection. But with each setback, Ava remembered the lessons her mother and mentors had taught her: persistence, humility, and the power of asking for help. During a particularly challenging design session, Ava's propulsion model malfunctioned again. Frustrated, she considered giving up, but Elon pulled her aside. "Great ideas aren't about getting it right the first time," he said. "They're about never stopping until you do." Motivated by his words, Ava dove back into the problem, collaborating with a team of engineers who admired her fresh perspective and relentless curiosity. Together, they developed improvements that made the prototype more efficient and reliable. As the days progressed, Ava's confidence grew. She learned to communicate her ideas clearly, balancing technical jargon with passionate storytelling. She experienced firsthand the intersection of science and creativity, realizing that innovation wasn't just about facts but also about inspiring others to believe in the impossible. Beyond the technical challenges, Ava encountered the complexities of teamwork. Differences in opinion sometimes led to heated debates. One engineer questioned the practicality of her solar propulsion idea, arguing that traditional fuel methods were more reliable. Another doubted her ability to contribute meaningfully due to her age. These moments were difficult, but Ava learned to stand her ground respectfully, supporting her ideas with research and openness to feedback. The experience was a crash course in navigating professional environments, where intelligence alone wasn't enough. You had to connect, persuade, and adapt. Amid the intense schedule, Elon Musk invited Ava to attend a private briefing on upcoming SpaceX missions. The room was filled with leaders and visionaries discussing plans to colonize Mars and develop sustainable space travel. Ava listened intently, absorbing the magnitude of human ambition. It was a reminder that her dreams were part of a larger story, one of exploration, survival, and hope for the future of humanity. Late one evening, after a long day of testing and presentations, Ava found herself on the rooftop of the facility, staring up at the stars. The California sky was clearer than she had ever seen. She felt a mix of awe and loneliness, the realization that even surrounded by brilliant minds, the journey ahead was hers alone to navigate. That night, she called her mother. "Mom," she said softly, "this place is incredible, but sometimes I feel like I don't belong." Karen's voice was steady and warm. "You belong because you're brave enough to try. Remember, every pioneer feels lost at first. It's the courage to keep going that makes all the difference." Those words grounded Ava, reminding her of her roots and the family that supported her. Over the next weeks, Ava's project gained attention within SpaceX. Executives saw potential in her solar propulsion system, not just as a theoretical concept but as a possible component of future spacecraft. Elon Musk suggested they prepare to present the improved design at an upcoming aerospace conference, a prestigious platform that could open doors beyond anything Ava had imagined. Preparing for the conference meant balancing schoolwork, her new commitments, and the emotional weight of expectations. The pressure was intense. Ava experienced moments of doubt, questioning if she could live up to the hype and whether the dream was worth the sacrifices. Social media buzz added to the scrutiny, with some praising her genius and others questioning if she was simply a media sensation. Despite this, Ava held fast to her belief that her work was meaningful and that she had a responsibility to keep pushing forward, not just for herself but for every young person who dared to dream. The climactic journey at SpaceX taught Ava lessons beyond engineering and science. She learned about resilience in the face of criticism, the importance of mentorship, and the power of community. She discovered that even when you feel small in a world of giants, your voice and vision can make a difference. When the day of the aerospace conference arrived, Ava stood before an audience of experts, investors, and reporters. Her presentation was polished yet heartfelt, blending technical details with the story of her journey, a tribute to her father's memory, her mother's sacrifices, and the challenges she had overcome. The room listened intently as she explained how her solar propulsion system could reduce costs and environmental impact, making space exploration more accessible and sustainable. Elon Musk sat in the front row, nodding in approval. The presentation was met with applause and an outpouring of interest. Investors approached her with questions, and engineers offered collaboration opportunities. Ava's journey, which had started with a simple idea born from curiosity and loss, was now opening doors to new horizons. Yet, the challenges were far from over. The path ahead was filled with tough decisions, balancing childhood and career, handling fame, and staying true to her values. Ava knew that every step would demand courage and wisdom. But armed with the lessons from this climactic journey, she was ready to face whatever came next, fueled by a dream that was bigger than herself and a heart that refused to give up. The days after the aerospace conference were a whirlwind for Ava. She was still riding the high of her success, but beneath the excitement was a growing storm of emotions she hadn't fully expected. She felt proud, overwhelmed, hopeful, and terrified. What no one knew yet was the secret she had kept hidden since the contest, a truth that would soon surface and change everything. It began subtly. Ava noticed that her energy was flagging more often, and her usual sharp focus was slipping. She chalked it up to stress and the relentless pace of her new life. But as the weeks went by, the feeling worsened, headaches, dizziness, moments of confusion. When she finally confided in Karen, her mother's worry was immediate and deep. "We need to see a doctor, Ava. No more waiting." The diagnosis was a shock. Ava had a rare neurological condition, something that could affect her vision and motor skills if left untreated. It was a cruel twist of fate for someone whose dreams depended on precision and clarity. The news hit Ava like a meteor crashing down. She felt anger, fear, and disbelief all at once. How could this be happening now, when everything was finally coming together? Karen held her close, tears streaming down her face, whispering that they would face it together. Ava's world tilted. Suddenly, every plan felt fragile. The treatments were intense. Daily hospital visits, tests, and a barrage of medication with side effects that sapped her strength. Ava struggled to keep up with school and her work at SpaceX. There were days when even getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. She wrestled with frustration and guilt, feeling like she was letting everyone down. Her mother became her rock, juggling work, hospital appointments, and the endless emotional support Ava needed. Jamie visited often, bringing laughter and distraction, refusing to let Ava slip into despair. The support network rallied around her, but the emotional toll was immense. Meanwhile, The media caught wind of Ava's condition, and headlines shifted from celebrating a young genius to questioning how she would cope. Some offered sympathy, others cast doubt on her future. Elon Musk sent messages of encouragement, reminding her that setbacks were part of every journey he had taken. But the harsh reality was that Ava had to face her biggest challenge yet, one that no science or innovation could easily fix. As Ava navigated this emotional storm, she was forced to confront deep questions about identity and purpose. Was she just a prodigy defined by her accomplishments, or was she something more? What did it mean to dream when the body felt fragile? In moments of quiet, Ava found solace in memories of her father. She clutched his old watch, feeling the steady tick that reminded her time marched on, no matter what. Her father's words echoed in her mind, "No matter what, keep moving forward." Those words became her mantra, a lifeline pulling her through the darkest nights. Then came the turning point, the moment that changed everything. During a routine scan, doctors discovered something unexpected. Ava's condition was treatable, with a high chance of recovery if she committed fully to therapy. The diagnosis brought relief but also new challenges. The treatment was grueling and required patience and determination. Ava realized that her journey wasn't about avoiding obstacles but about embracing them. With renewed hope, she threw herself into recovery, channeling the same grit that had fueled her scientific pursuits. The emotional climax reached its peak when Ava was invited back to SpaceX to give a candid talk about her experience, not just as a young innovator but as a fighter confronting adversity. Standing before a crowd of engineers, scientists, and media, Ava shared her story, the highs, the lows, and the unexpected battle within. Her words struck a chord far deeper than any technical presentation ever could. She spoke about the power of vulnerability, the importance of hope, and the courage it takes to face life's toughest moments. The room was silent, moved by the honesty and strength of a 10-year-old girl who had touched the stars and faced the shadows. Elon Musk himself acknowledged the moment, calling Ava a true inspiration who reminds us that innovation is not just about technology but about the human spirit. This emotional climax was more than a personal victory, it was a message to millions watching around the world. Ava's journey showed that even when life deals unexpected blows, hope and resilience can light the way. But just when it seemed the story was reaching a peaceful resolution, a shocking twist emerged. As Ava continued her therapy, she uncovered documents her father had left behind, detailed notes on a secret project he had been working on before his death. The project hinted at breakthroughs in renewable energy technology with the potential to change the world. Ava's discovery reignited her passion and sense of purpose. It was as if her father was guiding her from beyond, urging her to continue the work they had started together. The revelation added a new dimension to her journey, blending personal legacy with a vision for a better future. The emotional climax, with its truth revealed and shocking twist, transformed Ava from a young girl chasing dreams into a beacon of hope and determination. It was a moment that changed her, and everyone who heard her story, forever. Ava's life after the emotional storm and the shocking discovery took on a new rhythm, one that blended hard-earned wisdom with fresh ambition. The journey that began with a simple question, "What drives you when everything seems lost?" had transformed her in ways she never imagined. As she continued her therapy and recovered strength, Ava realized that her story wasn't just about inventions or contests, it was about growth, love, and sacrifice. The support of her mother remained unwavering. Karen balanced work and caregiving with remarkable grace, always reminding Ava that strength came from facing challenges head-on but also from accepting help. Their bond deepened in those months, conversations turning from worries to dreams and plans for the future. Jamie stayed by Ava's side, a constant friend and cheerleader, his belief in her never faltering. The discovery of her father's secret project became a beacon, inspiring Ava to honor his legacy not only through science but through purpose. She worked with Mrs. Wilson and new mentors to understand the complexities of the technology he had been developing. Slowly, Ava began to piece together the puzzle, learning that true innovation was often built on the foundation of those who came before. School resumed, but Ava's perspective had shifted. She no longer measured success solely by grades or applause but by the lessons embedded in every experience. Her classmates, who once teased her, now looked at her with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Ava spoke openly about resilience and hope, encouraging others to embrace their unique paths. The media attention gradually faded, replaced by a quieter respect for her journey. The family gathered for holidays with a newfound appreciation for the fragile beauty of life and the power of love. Karen often reflected on how much Ava had grown, from a curious 10-year-old into a young woman who understood that life's surprises, both good and bad, shaped character. Ava herself learned the importance of balance, recognizing that chasing dreams required not only ambition but also rest and reflection. The lessons of sacrifice became clear. Ava sacrificed many childhood moments to chase her vision, and her family sacrificed stability and comfort to support her. Yet, these sacrifices were not losses but investments in a future filled with possibility. Ava's experience taught her that love was the true engine driving innovation and courage. The world beyond their home felt more accessible and hopeful as Ava prepared to launch a foundation inspired by her father's work. The foundation aimed to support young inventors facing hardships, offering mentorship, resources, and community. Ava wanted every child who dared to dream to know they weren't alone. Her speech at the foundation's inaugural event encapsulated her journey. Life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way. The statement resonated deeply with everyone who listened, a testament to the profound transformation Ava had undergone. Looking back, Ava recognized that her story was not about a single answer that left Elon Musk speechless but about the continuous journey of facing hardship, discovering inner strength, and embracing hope. Her answer was not just words, it was lived experience, courage in action. As Ava looked toward the future, she knew the path would continue to be challenging, but she welcomed it with open arms. The stars she once dreamed about were no longer distant, they were destinations within reach, illuminated by the lessons she had learned. This resolution was not an ending but a new beginning, one fueled by a resilient heart, a curious mind, and a belief that even the smallest voice could change the world. Ava's story reminded everyone that greatness is born from struggle and that the light of hope can shine brightest in the darkest times. Ava's life after the foundation launch seemed to settle into a new normal, but the path of innovation and growth is never smooth, and soon new challenges appeared, testing her resolve in unexpected ways. The foundation attracted a growing number of young inventors, many of whom faced obstacles far greater than Ava had imagined. Some struggled with financial hardship, others with skepticism from their communities, and a few even faced discrimination because of their age or background. Ava quickly realized that leading a movement was different from being a solo dreamer. She had to learn how to listen deeply, balance competing needs, and find strength in collaboration. Meanwhile, SpaceX offered her a consulting role on a project to develop sustainable energy sources for space habitats, a dream opportunity but one that demanded time, expertise, and diplomacy. The project was complex, involving engineers and scientists from diverse fields, each with strong opinions and high stakes. Ava's youthful enthusiasm was met with both admiration and resistance. Some colleagues questioned whether she was ready to contribute at such a high level. But Ava had learned to navigate skepticism with patience and preparation. She listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and gradually earned respect. One unexpected ally emerged in Dr. Raj Patel, a veteran engineer who saw in Ava the spark of brilliance he had once had as a young innovator. Raj became a mentor and advocate, guiding Ava through technical challenges and office politics. His support proved invaluable, giving her confidence to voice her ideas boldly. Yet balancing these responsibilities with her health remained a struggle. The therapy continued, and there were days when fatigue threatened to derail her efforts. Ava learned the importance of self-care and boundaries, leaning on Karen and Jamie for support. The foundation, too, demanded constant attention, organizing workshops, fundraising, and managing a growing team. Ava realized that leadership wasn't just about vision but about resilience and empathy. At school, Ava faced a new kind of challenge, balancing normal teenage experiences with her extraordinary life. Friendships shifted as some peers struggled to understand her priorities, while others envied the attention she received. Ava felt the tension of wanting to fit in and needing to stand out. In these moments, she found solace in writing, pouring her thoughts into a journal that captured her doubts, hopes, and dreams. One day, the foundation received a letter from a young girl in a rural town, inspired by Ava's story but facing barriers Ava had never encountered: lack of internet access, limited schooling, and community skepticism about girls in science. This letter sparked a new mission: how to reach those who were most isolated, most in need of hope and opportunity. Ava and her team brainstormed solutions: mobile science labs, virtual mentorship via satellite technology, and partnerships with local leaders. It was daunting, but Ava believed in the power of connection. The process wasn't easy. Fundraising for these initiatives met resistance, and logistics were complex. But slowly, seeds of change took root as young inventors from far-flung places began to share their stories, supported by Ava's foundation. These new voices enriched the community, reminding everyone that innovation knows no borders. In parallel, Ava's work at SpaceX led to a breakthrough. A prototype for a compact solar generator that could provide reliable energy in space and remote areas on Earth. The project's success was a testament to collaboration, creativity, and persistence. Yet even this victory was tempered by the reality of setbacks. The prototype required refinement, funding was uncertain, and the path to deployment was long. Through it all, Ava's belief in her mission never wavered. The year culminated in an invitation to speak at a global summit on youth innovation. Standing on the stage, Ava reflected on her journey, the victories, the challenges, the people who had helped shape her. She shared the story of the young girl from the rural town, emphasizing the need to lift every voice and open every door. The audience responded with standing ovations and renewed commitment. As Ava returned home that evening, she felt a profound sense of purpose. The road ahead was filled with unknowns, but she was no longer afraid. She had learned that challenges were not barriers but invitations, to grow, to adapt, to connect. Her story, once a solitary spark, had become a wildfire of hope and possibility, fueled by unexpected allies and unwavering determination. The excitement surrounding Ava's rapid rise in the world of innovation was often overshadowed by the quiet, relentless testing of her limits. As her foundation expanded and her role at SpaceX deepened, Ava found herself grappling with doubts that whispered at the edges of her confidence. The pressure to succeed felt like a weight pressing down on her young shoulders, and the expectations from the public, the media, and even herself seemed at times unbearable. Ava's health, though improved, remained a fragile thread woven into the fabric of her daily life. The neurological condition she faced was unpredictable, and the medication and therapy schedules were strict and exhausting. Some days she awoke with a sharp pain in her head, or her vision blurred at inconvenient moments. These physical challenges compounded the emotional stress she carried. Feeling responsible not just for her own future but for the dreams of every young inventor relying on her foundation. Schoolwork, which once felt routine, became a battleground. Teachers were supportive but often overwhelmed by Ava's unique circumstances. Group projects introduced complicated dynamics as classmates either distanced themselves out of envy or leaned too heavily on her reputation. Ava's social life suffered, invitations to hang out were rare, and when they came, she sometimes had to decline because of fatigue or commitments. One evening, after an especially grueling day, Ava sat alone in her room, questioning if she had the strength to keep going. The journal on her desk was open to a blank page, mirroring the uncertainty she felt inside. Just then, a text from Jamie popped up: "You've got this, no matter what. Remember who you are." Those words reignited a spark. She wasn't alone, and her story was bigger than the doubts. But it wasn't just internal struggles that tested her. The world around her was complex and often unforgiving. As her foundation grew, so did scrutiny. Critics argued that a 10-year-old was being used as a media tool, or questioned whether her projects were truly feasible. Some detractors accused her of overshadowing other young inventors. Social media trolls sent harsh messages, questioning her abilities and resilience. Ava felt the sting of those attacks but chose to focus on the positive, the messages from kids inspired to build, invent, and dream because of her example. At SpaceX, the technical challenges intensified. The solar generator project hit a major snag when an unexpected flaw was discovered during testing. Months of work seemed threatened by a single error in the circuitry design. Some engineers pushed for scrapping the project altogether, citing costs and feasibility concerns. Ava felt the sting of disappointment but refused to give up. With Raj Patel's help, she revisited the design from the ground up, bringing in fresh eyes and ideas. The process was grueling, but eventually, a solution emerged, a more efficient circuit that improved both power output and reliability. This victory, however, was bittersweet. It came after many late nights, heated discussions, and moments of doubt. Ava realized that success was never a straight path but a series of falls and recoveries. Through these trials, Ava's character deepened. She learned to embrace vulnerability, acknowledging when she needed help and accepting imperfection. The support of her family, especially Karen and Jamie, was a lifeline. They reminded her that strength included knowing when to rest and when to ask for support. The experience also taught Ava the value of community. Her foundation hosted monthly virtual meetups where young inventors shared their struggles and breakthroughs. These gatherings became a source of encouragement, a reminder that innovation was a collective journey. Ava's own story inspired others to persevere despite setbacks. In school, Ava's relationship with her peers evolved. A few classmates who had once been distant began to see her not just as a prodigy but as a person facing real challenges. They reached out, offering friendship and understanding. These connections, though small, meant the world to Ava. They reminded her that beyond achievements, human connection was essential. One particularly poignant moment came during a science fair when Ava's project was accidentally damaged just hours before the presentation. The initial panic gave way to calm determination as her classmates rallied around her, helping to rebuild and refine the display. The project was a success, but more importantly, Ava felt a sense of belonging and support. The chapter culminated in a reflection on the balance between ambition and self-care. Ava understood that pushing limits was necessary for growth, but respecting her own well-being was equally vital. The journey was not just about changing the world but about becoming whole in the process. As she prepared for a keynote speech at an international innovation conference, Ava felt ready to share these lessons openly. Her speech, titled "Testing Limits: The Power of Doubt and Strength," resonated deeply with the audience. She spoke candidly about the challenges she faced, the doubts that threatened to derail her, and the strength she found in community, family, and perseverance. The standing ovation that followed was not just for her technical achievements but for her courage and vulnerability. Ava's story in this chapter was a testament to the truth that greatness is forged in the fires of doubt and tempered by the hands of support. Her journey was far from over, but with each test, she grew stronger, wiser, and more determined to face whatever lay ahead. Ava's journey had already been remarkable, but Chapter 10 marked a turning point, a moment when barriers began to break down and perspectives shifted not only for her but for everyone around her. The road was still long and full of obstacles, but something inside Ava had changed. She no longer saw challenges as walls to stop her but as doors waiting to be opened. The turning point came unexpectedly during a national science competition held in Washington, D.C. Ava had been invited as a keynote speaker and competitor, showcasing her work on the solar generator prototype and the Foundation's outreach programs. The event was filled with the country's brightest young minds, inventors from diverse backgrounds, and industry leaders watching closely. Ava's presentation was scheduled early, but the energy in the room was electric. When she stepped onto the stage, she felt a calm clarity. Years of experience, struggle, and growth had prepared her for this moment. Her voice was steady as she shared the journey behind her inventions and the importance of inclusivity in innovation. She emphasized that genius wasn't reserved for a select few but was a spark that could ignite anywhere, given opportunity and support. The crowd responded with enthusiasm, and Ava's authenticity shone through every word. But the real breakthrough came during the Q&A session when a well-known skeptic asked, "How can a 10-year-old truly contribute to these complex projects? Aren't these fields better left to experts with years of training?" The question, though pointed, was met with silence, the audience awaiting Ava's response. She took a breath and answered with confidence, "Expertise is valuable, but innovation comes from curiosity, fresh perspectives, and the courage to ask why not. I may be young, but every expert started somewhere. If we dismiss voices based on age, background, or experience, we risk missing out on the next breakthrough." Her answer was met with applause, but more importantly, it sparked a larger conversation throughout the conference. Throughout the event, Ava engaged with attendees and industry leaders, building connections and challenging assumptions. Her foundation gained new supporters, and several corporations expressed interest in partnerships to expand STEM opportunities for underserved communities. The momentum was palpable. Back home, the ripple effects of the conference began to show. Schools in Ava's city started implementing new programs inspired by her foundation's work. Parents and educators reached out, eager to support young inventors. The media narrative shifted too, focusing on the importance of nurturing diverse talents and breaking down stereotypes. Ava's own perspective deepened. She realized that changing the world wasn't just about inventing new technologies but about shifting mindsets. She committed herself to advocacy, speaking not only about science but about equity, representation, and access. Meanwhile, her work at SpaceX advanced. The solar generator project entered a new phase, with prototypes ready for field testing in remote areas. Ava traveled with Raj and the team to several sites, witnessing firsthand the impact of sustainable energy solutions. The experiences reinforced her belief in practical innovation, technology designed to improve lives, especially for those often overlooked. But as opportunities expanded, Ava faced fresh challenges balancing advocacy, invention, health, and adolescence. There were moments of exhaustion and self-doubt, yet she leaned on her support system and the lessons of resilience she had cultivated. A defining moment came when Ava was invited to the White House to meet with policymakers and discuss STEM education and youth innovation. The event was both thrilling and intimidating. Surrounded by leaders and experts, Ava spoke with passion about the need to invest in young minds and create inclusive spaces for creativity. Her words resonated, leading to commitments for increased funding and support for programs like her foundation. This milestone was a testament to how far she had come, not just as a young inventor but as a changemaker influencing policy and public perception. The turning point also brought personal growth. Ava began mentoring younger kids in her community, sharing not only scientific knowledge but the emotional tools to handle setbacks and build confidence. She found joy in lifting others as she climbed, a principle she vowed to carry forward. The chapter closed with Ava reflecting on the meaning of breaking barriers. It wasn't just about her achievements but about opening doors for others, challenging assumptions, and expanding the definition of who could be a leader in science and innovation. She understood that her voice had power, and with that power came responsibility, to be a role model, an advocate, and a beacon of hope. Ava's story at this turning point was one of transformation. From a young girl inspired by a curious question to a young woman breaking down walls and changing perspectives. It was a reminder that true progress comes when courage meets opportunity and when voices once unheard are finally listened to. The future was still unwritten, but Ava was ready to write it boldly, with determination, heart, and the knowledge that every step forward was a step for many others behind her. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Ava's momentum was undeniable, her foundation growing, her projects advancing, and her voice reaching new audiences, but success often brings challenges no one anticipates. As doors opened, Ava soon faced an unexpected battle that tested her resilience in ways she hadn't yet experienced. It began subtly, with whispers and subtle skepticism from some corners of the scientific community. A few experts questioned whether a child, even one as talented as Ava, could truly grasp the complexities of cutting-edge technology and leadership. While many praised her accomplishments, a growing minority dismissed her contributions as novelty or media hype. These critiques stung more deeply than the social media jabs Ava had grown accustomed to. They threatened to undermine the very foundations she had worked so hard to build. Adding to this strain, the demands of her growing responsibilities created tensions within her close relationships. Karen, her mother, began to worry about Ava's health, feeling the pressure of balancing her own work with caregiving. Jamie, her childhood friend, sometimes felt left behind as Ava's world expanded in ways he couldn't always follow. Ava struggled to communicate her needs and fears, often pushing herself too hard to prove her worth. A pivotal moment arrived when an influential journal published an article criticizing the validity of some of her foundation's programs, questioning their impact and suggesting the initiatives were overly ambitious for their resources. The article ignited a firestorm online, with some donors pulling back and volunteers expressing doubt. Ava was devastated. She felt as if all her efforts were unraveling, and the weight of expectations threatened to crush her spirit. Rather than retreat, Ava chose to face the storm head-on. She convened her leadership team, including mentors like Mrs. Wilson and Dr. Patel, to analyze the criticisms and chart a path forward. They conducted transparent evaluations, gathered data on outcomes, and reached out directly to affected communities for honest feedback. This process was humbling but necessary. Ava learned that true leadership involved listening as much as leading, admitting where improvements were needed, and committing to continuous growth. The foundation revised its programs, integrating new methodologies and clearer metrics for success. Ava spearheaded a campaign of openness, sharing these changes publicly and inviting collaboration from the broader community. Meanwhile, at SpaceX, technical difficulties with the solar generator project intensified. Supply chain issues delayed critical components, and testing schedules were repeatedly pushed back. The pressure mounted as deadlines loomed, and the team faced budget constraints. Ava found herself caught between optimism and frustration. The setbacks tested her patience and leadership skills. She organized brainstorming sessions, encouraged open communication, and sought creative solutions from every team member. Raj Patel's steady presence was a source of comfort, reminding her that innovation was never without obstacles. Throughout this turbulent period, Ava's personal life also faced strain. Balancing school, work, health, and advocacy became a juggling act that left little time for rest or reflection. Ava's energy waned, and moments of doubt crept in. She worried that the criticism and challenges might overshadow her purpose. One evening, after a long day of meetings and research, Ava confided in Karen, admitting she felt overwhelmed and unsure if she could continue at the same pace. Karen listened with compassion, sharing her own experiences of doubt and reminding Ava that strength often comes from vulnerability. This honest conversation deepened their bond and renewed Ava's resolve. Jamie, sensing Ava's struggles, reached out more frequently, offering simple but powerful support, whether it was helping with errands, sharing a laugh, or just being present. These moments of connection reminded Ava that success was not a solitary journey. As the foundation emerged stronger and the solar project progressed, Ava reflected on the lessons embedded in this chapter of her life. Success brought new battles, often hidden beneath the surface. Handling criticism with grace, embracing transparency, and leaning on community were vital tools for enduring these storms. Ava's experience highlighted that leadership was not about perfection but about perseverance, humility, and continuous learning. The chapter ended with Ava preparing for a televised interview, where she would openly address the challenges she faced and the steps taken to overcome them. Her message was clear: setbacks were part of growth, and real strength was found in facing adversity with honesty and courage. Ava's story in this chapter was a testament to the complex reality of success. The triumphs and trials interwoven, shaping a young innovator into a resilient leader ready to face whatever lay ahead. After months of facing criticism, setbacks, and exhaustion, Ava found herself on the brink of a breakthrough that would redefine not only her work but her understanding of what persistence truly meant. The solar generator project, once plagued by delays and technical glitches, was finally showing promising results. The refined design, a product of countless iterations and collaboration, was ready for its most critical field test yet, in a remote Appalachian community that struggled with unreliable electricity and limited access to modern technology. Ava traveled with the SpaceX team and local volunteers, eager but cautious. The rugged terrain and unpredictable weather added layers of complexity to the deployment, but Ava's determination was unwavering. Setting up the generators alongside the community, she connected deeply with the families whose lives would be transformed. Watching children study under steady light, parents power small businesses, and healthcare workers operate equipment with newfound reliability brought an overwhelming sense of purpose. The field test was a success beyond technical metrics, it was a tangible impact story. Back at the foundation, the outreach programs also reached a critical milestone. The mobile science labs, once just an ambitious idea, were now operational in several underserved areas. The virtual mentorship network connected hundreds of young inventors across states, breaking geographical and social barriers. Ava's vision was becoming reality through persistent effort and collaboration. Yet, these victories were not without personal growth. Ava reflected on the long nights, the doubts, and the moments when giving up seemed easier. She realized that persistence wasn't just about pushing harder but about learning from failure, adapting strategies, and maintaining hope through uncertainty. Her leadership style evolved, she became more patient, listening more deeply and empowering others to contribute their strengths. The breakthrough moments extended beyond technology and programs. At school, Ava found new ways to balance her life. She organized a student-led innovation club, providing a supportive space for peers to explore ideas and collaborate. This initiative fostered friendships and renewed her connection to her age group. Her health, while still a daily consideration, was better managed with a new regimen developed in consultation with her doctors and family. These combined factors created a rhythm that sustained Ava's energy and enthusiasm. One of the most profound breakthrough moments came during a community event where Ava shared the stage with other young innovators. They exchanged stories of struggle and success, forming bonds that transcended backgrounds and experiences. The sense of collective achievement reinforced Ava's belief in the power of unity and shared purpose. As Ava prepared for an international innovation summit, she reflected on how persistence had shaped her journey. The summit was an opportunity to showcase not only the technology but the human stories behind it. Ava's keynote speech highlighted the importance of resilience, collaboration, and inclusivity in driving meaningful change. The audience responded with enthusiasm, inspired by her candidness and vision. The chapter concluded with Ava looking toward the future with renewed confidence. Breakthrough moments were not just events but processes, a series of persistent steps forward through uncertainty and challenge. Ava's story in this chapter was a testament to the transformative power of persistence, the courage to keep going, and the joy of seeing hard work blossom into real impact. Her journey was far from over, but with each breakthrough, she grew stronger, more hopeful, and ready to inspire the next generation of dreamers. As Ava's foundation and projects gained more attention, the landscape of her journey began to shift again, this time in the form of new alliances. Marked the arrival of an unexpected ally, someone whose background and influence would open doors Ava hadn't yet imagined. It started when Ava received an invitation from a prominent philanthropist and tech entrepreneur named Marcus Ellison. Marcus was known for his unconventional methods and passion for mentoring young talent, especially those overlooked by traditional institutions. Initially, Ava was hesitant. She'd encountered many adults who praised her publicly but whose support felt superficial or self-serving. But after a video call with Marcus, where he spoke candidly about his own struggles and vision for inclusive innovation, Ava sensed a genuine connection. Marcus's foundation specialized in funding projects that combined technology with social impact, perfectly aligning with Ava's mission. He proposed a partnership that would provide resources, mentorship, and a platform for Ava's foundation to expand its reach. The partnership brought fresh energy and new opportunities but also new challenges. Working with Marcus's team meant navigating different expectations and balancing creative control. Ava learned to negotiate, assert her vision, and find common ground, skills that stretched her beyond the realms of science and invention into leadership and diplomacy. Together, they launched an initiative to develop affordable, solar-powered learning kits for children in remote areas. The project required integrating hardware, software, and educational content, complex layers that demanded collaboration across disciplines. Ava took on the role of project lead, coordinating teams of engineers, educators, and community organizers. The work was intense, often pushing Ava's stamina, but the progress was exhilarating. Field tests of the kits in pilot locations brought inspiring feedback. Children who had never had access to technology were suddenly able to engage in interactive lessons, fueling their curiosity and creativity. Ava's team documented these successes, sharing stories that touched hearts and attracted further support. The partnership with Marcus also introduced Ava to influential figures in the tech world, from venture capitalists to policymakers. These connections helped secure additional funding and advocacy for STEM education and sustainable technology. Ava grew more confident navigating these high-stakes environments, blending her technical expertise with a growing aptitude for communication and strategy. However, the alliance was not without tension. Differences in priorities occasionally sparked conflict. Marcus, focused on scale and visibility, sometimes pressured for faster rollouts, while Ava emphasized quality and community engagement. They had to learn to listen, compromise, and respect each other's perspectives. These experiences deepened Ava's understanding of partnership dynamics and the complexities of scaling social innovation. On a personal level, the partnership revitalized Ava's sense of purpose. Seeing her vision amplified through collaboration was empowering. It also brought fresh inspiration for her future plans, ideas for integrating renewable energy with digital education, expanding mentorship networks, and advocating for youth leadership in tech policy. Meanwhile, Ava continued balancing school and health. The demands of the new projects intensified, but she prioritized self-care and time with family and friends. Jamie remained a steady presence, providing grounding support amid the whirlwind of activities. The chapter's turning point came during a major conference where Ava and Marcus presented their joint initiative. The presentation was met with acclaim, highlighting the power of cross-sector partnerships to drive meaningful change. The event concluded with a panel discussion where Ava spoke eloquently about the importance of trust, shared vision, and listening in partnerships. Her insights resonated with the audience, many of whom were leaders in technology and philanthropy. As the chapter closed, Ava reflected on the value of unexpected alliances. The partnership with Marcus was more than a strategic move, it was a lesson in humility, collaboration, and growth. Ava understood that building a better future required not only brilliant ideas but the courage to work with others, navigate differences, and build bridges. Her story in this chapter was a vivid reminder that no one achieves greatness alone, and that sometimes, the most powerful allies come from the most surprising places. Ava looked ahead with optimism, ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that new partnerships would bring, knowing that together, they could spark even greater change. Despite the growing success and new alliances, Ava soon found herself confronting critics more intense and personal than before. Chapter 14 delves into the period when external judgment tested her strength and forced her to embrace vulnerability as a source of power. It started with an influential blogger publishing a sharply worded post questioning Ava's qualifications and the legitimacy of her foundation. The post went viral, attracting both skeptical and hostile comments that questioned whether a child should hold such influence in fields dominated by experts. The attacks felt like a direct assault on Ava's identity and hard-earned credibility. The relentless scrutiny seeped into everyday life. Some teachers grew wary, classmates whispered doubts, and even family members expressed concerns about the toll on her mental health. Ava felt isolated, caught between defending her vision and protecting her well-being. The situation intensified when a major donor paused funding, citing worries about reputational risk. This financial blow threatened the Foundation's programs and cast a shadow over ongoing projects, including the solar-powered learning kits. Ava wrestled with feelings of frustration, sadness, and anger. She questioned whether the sacrifices she had made were worth the ongoing battle and whether she could continue to lead under such pressure. It was during this darkest moment that Ava reached out to her mentor, Mrs. Wilson, who had guided her since the early days of the Foundation. Mrs. Wilson reminded Ava that vulnerability was not weakness but a bridge to authentic connection and resilience. She encouraged Ava to share her story openly, to own her struggles alongside her successes, and to let others see the whole person behind the public image. Taking this advice to heart, Ava decided to address the criticism directly. She wrote a heartfelt blog post titled, "Strength in Vulnerability," where she candidly shared the challenges she faced, including the doubts, fears, and the relentless effort behind her work. The post resonated deeply with readers, many of whom reached out with messages of support and encouragement. Ava also appeared on a popular podcast, where she discussed the emotional toll of public scrutiny and the importance of mental health. These moments of openness shifted the narrative. Instead of being seen as just a prodigy or a project, Ava was recognized as a relatable young woman navigating extraordinary circumstances with courage and honesty. The Foundation supporters rallied back, donors returned, and new volunteers joined, energized by Ava's authenticity. Meanwhile, Ava applied the lessons of vulnerability to her leadership style. She fostered a culture within her teams that valued transparency, empathy, and mutual support. This approach strengthened collaboration and innovation, proving that emotional intelligence was as critical as technical skill. In school, Ava found allies who appreciated her honesty, forming deeper friendships and supportive networks. She also prioritized self-care practices, incorporating mindfulness, therapy, and boundaries to maintain balance. This chapter also explored the societal dimension of Ava's experience, the broader issue of how young women in STEM often face disproportionate scrutiny and doubt. Ava used her growing platform to advocate for equity and respect, speaking out against biases and stereotypes. Her voice contributed to important conversations about diversity, inclusion, and the need to create environments where all young innovators could thrive without fear of harassment or dismissal. The chapter culminated in a powerful public speech Ava delivered at a youth leadership conference. She spoke passionately about embracing vulnerability as a strength, the courage to be imperfect, and the importance of community in overcoming obstacles. The audience responded with standing ovations, moved by her honesty and conviction. Ava's story in this chapter was one of transformation, not just in external achievements but in inner growth. She learned that true strength comes not from invulnerability but from the willingness to be seen fully and to rise despite fear and doubt. This chapter left readers with a profound message, that courage and vulnerability walk hand in hand, and embracing both is essential for authentic leadership and lasting impact. As the chapter closed, Ava felt a renewed sense of purpose and peace. She was no longer defined by others' judgments but by her own commitment to truth, growth, and connection. The journey ahead remained challenging, but Ava was equipped not only with knowledge and skill but with a resilient heart ready to face whatever came next. Ava had been navigating the ups and downs of her journey for years, learning lessons in persistence, partnership, and vulnerability, but Chapter 15 marked a turning point that neither she nor anyone else saw coming, a moment where a small gesture changed everything. It was a quiet afternoon when Ava received an unexpected message from a young girl named Maya, who lived in a small town in Ohio. Maya was 10 years old, just Ava's age when her own journey began, and she had been inspired by Ava's story, watching her speeches and following her foundation's work online. In the message, Maya shared how Ava's courage gave her hope to pursue her own dreams of inventing a better world. She wrote about the struggles she faced in school, where her interest in science was often dismissed by teachers and peers, and how Ava's example made her believe she could overcome those challenges. The message was simple but powerful, and it touched Ava deeply. In that moment, she realized that her work was reaching beyond programs and technology, it was inspiring real people in profound ways. Ava replied to Maya, starting a correspondence that blossomed into a meaningful mentorship. Through their conversations, Ava saw reflections of her younger self in Maya's hopes, fears, and determination. She realized how much a single connection could change the course of a life. This connection sparked an idea within Ava, to create a new initiative focused on one-on-one mentorship for young innovators facing obstacles similar to those Maya described. The program would match experienced mentors with kids across the country, especially those in under-resourced areas, providing encouragement, guidance, and practical support. Ava's team quickly mobilized to develop the framework, drawing on their experience with virtual mentorship networks and community engagement. The launch of the mentorship program was met with enthusiasm, attracting volunteers and participants eager to be part of this new movement. Ava herself personally mentored several kids, including Maya, cherishing the opportunity to give back in a direct, personal way. This turning point also influenced Ava's approach to her own projects. She began to prioritize the human stories behind the technology, the individual children and families whose lives were transformed by access to education and clean energy. She incorporated storytelling into her foundation's outreach, emphasizing connection and empathy alongside innovation. At the same time, Ava's leadership grew more nuanced and compassionate. She learned that impact was not just measured in numbers but in the moments of hope and confidence sparked in a single child's heart. The chapter detailed one particularly memorable visit Ava made to Maya's school, where she spoke to a group of students about dreaming big and believing in themselves. Maya introduced Ava to her classmates as her mentor, and the energy in the room was electric. Children who once felt invisible now felt seen and heard. Ava's speech was heartfelt, weaving together her own challenges with encouragement to embrace curiosity and resilience. The experience reignited Ava's passion and reminded her of the deep reasons behind her work. Beyond the emotional resonance, this turning point brought practical benefits. The mentorship program created a ripple effect. Young men gained confidence, improved academically, and began exploring STEM fields with renewed enthusiasm. Mentors found fulfillment and inspiration in guiding the next generation. The foundation's visibility and support grew as stories of transformation spread. Ava also began collaborating with educators to integrate mentorship principles into classroom practices, creating a more supportive and inclusive environment for young innovators. Yet, this chapter did not shy away from the challenges of scaling such a personal initiative. Ensuring quality mentorship, managing resources, and reaching the most isolated communities required ongoing effort and creativity. Ava embraced these challenges as part of the journey, viewing them as opportunities to deepen the foundation's impact and refine its approach. The turning point was also a personal moment of growth for Ava. She recognized that her greatest strength lay not just in her inventions or leadership skills but in her ability to connect, listen, and nurture others. This shift broadened her vision of what success meant and how she could contribute to a better future. The chapter closed with Ava reflecting on the small gesture that set everything in motion, a simple message from a young girl, and how sometimes, the most profound changes begin with a single act of kindness and connection. Ava's story in this chapter was a reminder that even the smallest gestures can spark powerful transformations, and that true leadership involves opening one's heart as much as one's mind. As Ava looked ahead, she felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose, ready to continue building a world where every child's potential could be realized. Despite the momentum and inspiring milestones Ava had achieved, Chapter 16 explores the less visible side of her journey, the hidden struggle of balancing dreams with the realities of life. The public saw a confident young innovator making waves, but behind the scenes, Ava wrestled daily with the challenge of managing expectations, personal needs, and the relentless demands of her multifaceted world. School, once a place of curiosity and growth, now sometimes felt like another task to check off. Homework, tests, and social dynamics added pressure on top of her leadership roles and projects. Ava often found herself exhausted, trying to meet deadlines both academic and philanthropic, struggling to find time to breathe. Friends, too, sometimes felt distant or unable to relate, leaving Ava feeling isolated despite her many connections. Physically, Ava's health remained a constant concern. The chronic fatigue and occasional migraines forced her to adjust her schedule, learn to listen to her body, and sometimes say no when she wanted to say yes. These limitations felt frustrating, especially when her ambitions seemed boundless. At home, Ava's relationship with her mother Karen was a source of strength but also occasional tension. Karen juggled supporting Ava while managing her own career and health. They both felt the weight of responsibility and the desire to protect each other from burnout. Open conversations about limits, needs, and support became essential but were not always easy. Ava also felt the pressure of public expectations. As a young woman in STEM and a public figure, the spotlight was often intense and unforgiving. Mistakes or slow progress were magnified, and the constant need to inspire and lead sometimes left Ava feeling like she had to wear a mask of unwavering confidence. The chapter dives into Ava's internal dialogue, revealing moments of doubt, fear of failure, and the struggle to accept imperfection. It was during this challenging period that Ava turned more deeply to mindfulness practices, therapy, and supportive friendships. She learned that balance wasn't about perfect management but about compassionate prioritization and accepting that some days would be harder than others. The Foundation's team played a crucial role, with Ava delegating more and trusting others to share the load. This shift allowed Ava to focus on what truly needed her attention and restored some of her energy and joy. Academically, Ava adjusted her approach, seeking flexible options and advocating for understanding from teachers and administrators. She found allies in educators who supported her ambitions and helped create accommodations that balanced her workload. Socially, Ava nurtured close friendships where vulnerability and authenticity were possible. Jamie remained a steadfast friend, often reminding her that success was not defined by public acclaim but by the quality of her relationships and inner peace. The chapter also examines the broader theme of young innovators facing pressure to succeed quickly in a fast-paced world that often overlooks the human cost. Ava's story became a platform for discussing mental health, self-care, and realistic goal-setting in youth leadership circles. She spoke openly at conferences and in interviews about the importance of balance and the courage to ask for help. One pivotal moment came when Ava took a deliberate break from public appearances and heavy project work to focus on her health and personal growth. This decision was met with mixed reactions. Some worried she was losing momentum, others praised her bravery. Ava experienced this pause as a crucial step in reclaiming her energy and perspective. During this time, she rediscovered simple joys, reading for pleasure, hiking in nature, spending unstructured time with loved ones, that grounded her and recharged her spirit. The chapter closes with Ava preparing to re-enter the public sphere with renewed clarity and strength. She embraced the understanding that dreams and reality coexist in tension, and that honoring both is essential for sustainable success. Ava's story in this chapter offers a profound lesson on the importance of balance, self-compassion, and the wisdom that comes from acknowledging one's limits without giving up on one's dreams. As Ava looked ahead, she felt ready to face the complexities of her path with humility and resilience, knowing that true progress included caring for herself as much as caring for others. Just when Ava thought she had a handle on balancing her many responsibilities and challenges, an unexpected opportunity arrived that promised to propel her dreams to new heights. Chapter 17 unfolds this thrilling moment when Ava's life took a surprising turn, proving that sometimes, the most incredible breakthroughs come from the places we least expect. It began with an email, simple and unassuming, inviting Ava to participate in a global innovation challenge sponsored by a leading aerospace company. The challenge aimed to foster ideas that could advance sustainable technology and education worldwide. For Ava, this was more than a contest. It was a chance to collaborate with experts, access resources she had only dreamed of, and gain visibility on a global scale. With the support of her foundation and her mentor Marcus Ellison, Ava decided to enter. The project she proposed combined solar energy technology with interactive educational tools designed to reach children in isolated regions, building on the work she'd been developing for years. The competition was fierce. Ava found herself among inventors, scientists, and entrepreneurs from around the world, each bringing cutting-edge ideas and impressive credentials. Despite the intimidation, Ava's confidence grew as she realized that her unique perspective and commitment to social impact distinguished her work. Throughout the competition, Ava engaged in intense rounds of presentations, technical evaluations, and collaborative workshops. She learned to communicate her vision clearly and compellingly to diverse audiences, from engineers to educators to business leaders. The experience stretched her skills and broadened her network. The pressure was immense, but Ava was fueled by the possibility of making a difference on an unprecedented scale. Alongside the professional excitement, Ava also encountered moments of self-doubt and fatigue. The rigorous pace and high stakes tested her endurance, reminding her of the delicate balance she had been cultivating. Yet, she leaned on her support system, her family, friends, and mentors, who encouraged her to keep pushing forward without losing sight of self-care. The competition culminated in a live final event held in a major city, bringing together finalists to present their projects to a panel of esteemed judges, including industry leaders and innovators like Elon Musk. The day was electric with anticipation. Ava's presentation was powerful and authentic, weaving together technical detail, human stories, and a passionate call to action. The audience was captivated by her vision of technology as a bridge to education and empowerment. When the winner was announced, Ava's project was among the top 3, a remarkable achievement given the global scale and caliber of competitors. Though she did not take first place, the recognition opened doors beyond her expectations. Offers for collaboration, funding, and speaking engagements poured in, along with invitations to join advisory boards and innovation hubs. One of the most transformative moments came when Elon Musk personally reached out to Ava. He expressed admiration for her dedication and creativity and invited her to join a special program designed to nurture young innovators with disruptive ideas. This personal endorsement was both humbling and exhilarating. It marked a turning point in Ava's journey, expanding her platform and accelerating her impact. The chapter also highlights how this opportunity reshaped Ava's perspective on success and ambition. She learned to appreciate progress as a journey filled with unexpected turns rather than a straight path to a single goal. The experience reinforced her commitment to inclusive innovation, ensuring that technology serves the many, not just the few. On the personal front, Ava's relationships grew richer as she shared her excitement and challenges with those closest to her. Jamie's pride and support remained a steady anchor, and Karen continued to be her rock, celebrating each milestone with heartfelt joy. Despite the whirlwind of new opportunities, Ava remained grounded, remembering the core values that had driven her since the beginning: curiosity, compassion, and courage. As the chapter draws to a close, Ava looks toward the future with a renewed sense of possibility. The unexpected opportunity was not just a reward for past effort but a launching pad for the next phase of her mission. Ava's story in this chapter is a vivid testament to the power of openness, readiness, and the willingness to seize the moment when it arrives. It's a reminder that dreams can take flight in the most surprising ways when we remain persistent, authentic, and connected to our purpose. With new doors opening and a world of possibilities ahead, Ava's journey is poised for even greater heights, inspiring all who follow her story to believe in the extraordinary potential within themselves. After the exhilarating whirlwind of the Global Innovation Challenge and the invitations that followed, Ava found herself standing at a pivotal crossroads where pressure and purpose collided in ways she had never experienced before. Captures this intense period when the stakes were higher than ever, and every decision Ava made would shape not only her future but the lives of countless children depending on her vision. The invitation from Elon Musk to join the Young Innovators program brought incredible opportunities and expectations. Ava was now part of an elite circle tasked with pioneering groundbreaking projects under intense scrutiny from media, investors, and industry leaders. The program demanded not just creativity but resilience, strategic thinking, and unwavering focus. The first challenge came quickly. Ava was asked to present an expanded proposal for her solar-powered educational kits to a panel of venture capitalists and scientists, some of whom were skeptical of her youth and experience. As she prepared, Ava felt the weight of representing her foundation and the children it served. The pressure to succeed was immense, but she knew the potential impact was worth every moment of stress. On presentation day, Ava faced a packed room filled with sharp questions and probing critiques. She had anticipated tough feedback but was unprepared for some dismissive attitudes based on her age. Instead of shrinking, Ava used this moment to demonstrate maturity and depth. She responded thoughtfully, backing her ideas with data, testimonials, and a compelling vision of social change. Her clarity and passion won over many skeptics, earning her not only the funding but also valuable mentorship from several panelists. Yet the pressure was not only external. Ava wrestled with internal doubts about whether she could live up to the expectations now resting on her shoulders. Sleep was often elusive, and moments of anxiety threatened to overwhelm her. But she remembered the lessons of vulnerability and balance she had learned, allowing herself to ask for help and lean on her support network. The chapter details how Ava's mother Karen and friend Jamie became crucial pillars, offering encouragement and grounding her during moments of overwhelm. Ava also leaned into mindfulness techniques and therapeutic practices, recognizing that maintaining mental and emotional health was essential to sustaining her mission. In parallel, Ava's foundation entered a phase of rapid growth, managing new projects, partnerships, and expanded teams. Leadership challenges emerged, including navigating conflicts, aligning diverse stakeholders, and maintaining the organization's core values amid increasing complexity. Ava embraced these challenges as growth opportunities, learning to delegate, communicate clearly, and build trust. This period also saw Ava confronting a critical ethical dilemma when a potential corporate partner offered significant funding but demanded changes that compromised the foundation's commitment to equity and accessibility. Ava faced a tough choice: accept the resources and risk betraying her principles or walk away and face financial uncertainty. After deep reflection and consultation with her team and mentors, Ava chose to uphold her values, rejecting the offer and reaffirming her dedication to the Foundation's mission. This decision was met with mixed reactions but ultimately strengthened the Foundation's integrity and reputation. The chapter emphasizes the theme that leadership often means making difficult choices guided by purpose rather than convenience. Ava's courage in this moment inspired her team and supporters, reinforcing the importance of ethical stewardship in social innovation. Meanwhile, the public spotlight intensified as Ava's story was featured in major media outlets, further raising expectations and scrutiny. Ava handled interviews and public appearances with grace, sharing not only successes but also the real challenges she faced. This transparency deepened her connection with the community and brought fresh supporters to the cause. As the chapter draws to a close, Ava prepares to launch a groundbreaking pilot program in partnership with schools across the country, designed to bring her solar-powered kits and mentorship directly to underserved students. The stakes are high, but Ava is fueled by a sense of purpose stronger than ever. Her story in this chapter is a vivid portrait of how pressure, when aligned with clear purpose and strong values, can become a powerful catalyst for growth and impact. Ava's journey reminds readers that moments of truth are not just tests but opportunities to demonstrate resilience, integrity, and heart. With renewed resolve and the unwavering support of those who believe in her, Ava steps boldly into the next chapter of her mission, ready to transform challenges into triumphs and inspire a generation. As Ava stood on the brink of launching her pilot program, the culmination of years of hard work, innovation, and perseverance, Chapter 19 explores how her vision broke barriers, not only in technology but in the hearts and minds of those it touched. This chapter highlights the profound human impact of Ava's journey, showing how innovation fueled by empathy can transform communities and inspire change beyond what numbers and awards can measure. The pilot program was ambitious, deploying solar-powered educational kits paired with mentorship in schools that had long been overlooked by mainstream initiatives. Ava's team worked tirelessly to coordinate logistics, train volunteers, and tailor the program to meet the unique needs of each community. Early visits to participating schools revealed both challenges and moments of profound connection. Many students had never encountered hands-on science projects or had access to reliable electricity to power devices, making Ava's kits not just educational tools but symbols of possibility. Teachers expressed gratitude for resources that energized their classrooms and sparked curiosity among students. The chapter vividly describes one classroom in rural Mississippi where a young girl named Jasmine eagerly used the solar kit to power a small lamp for her studies, sharing a heartfelt story of how this simple light changed her nightly routine. Stories like Jasmine's multiplied, creating a ripple effect of hope and empowerment. Ava also faced moments where obstacles tested the program's resilience. Technical glitches, funding delays, and skepticism from some community members wary of outside initiatives. These challenges required patience, flexibility, and deep listening. Ava's approach of partnering with local leaders and respecting community voices proved key to overcoming barriers and building trust. Throughout the pilot, Ava's mentorship took on new meaning. She connected virtually and in person with students, encouraging them to dream beyond their circumstances and to see themselves as creators and problem solvers. Her interactions were candid and heartfelt, breaking down barriers between mentor and mentee and fostering genuine relationships. The chapter highlights how Ava's empathy and authenticity made a lasting impression, inspiring students to embrace learning and envision futures they had never considered possible. One particularly moving moment came when a group of students surprised Ava with a handmade thank you video, sharing how her work had inspired them to start their own science clubs and community projects. Ava's eyes welled with tears as she realized the depth of impact, far beyond what she had imagined. On a broader scale, the pilot program attracted attention from educational policymakers and social entrepreneurs, sparking conversations about how innovation could be harnessed to address systemic inequities in education. Ava found herself advocating not just for technology but for the human-centered approaches that made her program successful. The chapter also explores Ava's personal growth as she navigated this phase, balancing the exhilaration of success with the humility of ongoing learning. She acknowledged that breaking barriers was an ongoing process requiring persistence, collaboration, and a willingness to adapt. Ava's leadership style evolved into one that prioritized listening, inclusivity, and shared purpose, inspiring her team and partners. Reflecting on the journey, Ava understood that the greatest breakthroughs were not just in the inventions or the awards but in the hearts changed and the barriers dismantled. Her story in this chapter serves as a powerful reminder that true innovation combines intellect with compassion and that meaningful change arises when technology meets heart. As the chapter closes, Ava prepares to scale the pilot program nationally, energized by the lessons learned and the lives touched. She stands as a beacon of hope and possibility, showing that breaking barriers requires courage, empathy, and unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. With every challenge overcome and every student inspired, Ava's dream moves closer to becoming a transformative reality. As Ava stood at the threshold of a new era, reflecting on the remarkable journey she had traveled, Chapter 20 brings the story full circle, focusing on legacy, lessons learned, and the future she envisions, not just for herself, but for the countless lives her work has touched. This final chapter distills the profound insights gained through triumphs and trials, revealing how Ava's story is more than a tale of individual success, it is a blueprint for change, resilience, and hope. The years since Ava's early innovations have passed swiftly, marked by milestones that once seemed unimaginable for a young girl from a small town. Now, as her foundation expanded its reach nationally and internationally, Ava paused to consider the broader impact of her work. She met with educators, community leaders, students, and collaborators who shared stories of transformation, stories of children empowered, communities uplifted, and futures reimagined. These testimonies were a living legacy, a testament to the power of vision married with action. Ava's reflections reveal the importance of staying true to core values, compassion, integrity, and inclusivity, amid rapid growth and external pressures. She acknowledges that setbacks and failures were not detours but essential parts of the path, teaching resilience and humility. The chapter explores how Ava's leadership evolved into a collaborative, servant-hearted model that prioritized empowering others to become agents of change in their own right. Ava also reflects on the personal growth she experienced, learning to embrace vulnerability, finding strength in asking for help, and balancing ambition with self-care. These lessons transformed not only her work but her well-being and relationships. She remains deeply grateful to the mentors, friends, and family who sustained her through every challenge. Looking to the future, Ava envisions a world where technology serves as a bridge rather than a barrier, a world where every child, regardless of background, has access to tools and opportunities to explore, create, and thrive. She is committed to nurturing the next generation of innovators and changemakers, believing that true progress is collective and ongoing. The chapter culminates in Ava's decision to write a book and launch a global mentorship initiative, aimed at sharing her journey and inspiring others to pursue their dreams with courage and heart. In a moving closing scene, Ava speaks at a major conference, addressing an audience of young leaders, educators, and innovators. She shares her story not as a legend but as a fellow traveler on the road of discovery, reminding listeners that every challenge holds a lesson and every dream is worth fighting for. Life is full of surprises, she says, echoing the line that began her story, but love and purpose will always lead the way. Ava's journey leaves readers with a powerful message, that change begins with one person daring to believe and act, that innovation is most meaningful when rooted in empathy, and that the legacy we build is measured not by accolades but by the lives we uplift. The chapter ends with a hopeful glance toward the horizon. Ava ready to embrace the unknown future, confident that the best is yet to come. This closing chapter provides a satisfying and inspiring resolution, inviting readers to reflect on their own dreams and the impact they wish to make in the world. Ava never expected the moment to come full circle the way it did. Years had passed since that fateful day she had stood nervously in a packed auditorium and asked Elon Musk a single, unexpected question that left him speechless. Now, standing on a polished stage beneath lights that once would have intimidated her, she looked out at hundreds of students, many her age when she had first dared to speak up, and recognized the same mixture of wonder, fear, and possibility in their eyes. This wasn't just another speaking engagement. This was the first youth-led global summit her foundation had organized entirely from scratch, and Ava was its keynote speaker. The girl who had once scrambled for recognition now stood as a symbol of what a single voice, unshaken by doubt, could ignite. But it wasn't just a polished speech that she had come to deliver. It was something deeper. Something she hadn't even told her closest friends about yet. Backstage before stepping out, she had read through an envelope addressed in a young girl's handwriting, neat, careful, a little hesitant. It was a question, written by a 10-year-old from Kansas City, asking, "What do you do when you know the right thing but everyone says you're too young to understand?" Ava had paused when she read it, because the words mirrored her own from nearly a decade ago. The simplicity, the raw truth behind it, hit her in a way few things could. And in that moment, Ava decided that her speech wasn't going to be about the foundation's success or new initiatives or technology. It was going to be about that question. Because behind every innovation, behind every breakthrough, was a moment when someone refused to be silenced. She stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause, but her voice was calm and personal when she spoke. "I was 10 when I first asked a question that people told me was too big for my age. And now, someone else has asked a question just as powerful." She reached into her pocket and held up the letter. "I want to read it to you." She did. Word for word. And then she looked out into the crowd and said, "The truth is, there is no right age for doing the right thing. There is no time when your voice suddenly becomes worthy. You don't earn it by growing older, you earn it by choosing to speak up when it matters." The room was still. Not silent out of boredom, but reverent. Focused. Listening. Ava went on to tell her own story again, but this time, stripped of the polish and accolades. She spoke of the fatigue, the rejection, the loneliness of being the only kid in a room full of adults who only saw her as a novelty. She spoke of failing prototypes, media pressure, and that one time she almost gave up because someone she respected told her she was lucky, not smart. But she also told them about the breakthroughs that came not from genius, but from stubbornness. She told them about Maya, the girl from Ohio, and Jasmine, who powered her first lamp. She spoke of how the truest measure of innovation wasn't invention, it was compassion. If your idea doesn't make someone's life better, she said, you need a new idea. Then, she paused. Looked down. And brought up something no one expected. I've also come to tell you something I haven't told the media, or even my team. The crowd leaned forward. I've decided to step away from the public side of the foundation. Not forever, but for a while. I need time to be a person. To learn, to rest, to explore things not related to press releases and panels. I want to take a real college class, have awkward conversations that don't get tweeted, and, maybe, go somewhere where nobody knows my name. She smiled at the last part, knowing it wouldn't be so simple. But the message landed. She wasn't quitting. She was growing. And that growth didn't look like more, it looked like less, done better. The reaction was mixed, audible gasps, murmurs, even a few stunned expressions, but mostly, a quiet, profound respect. She had just done what many adults struggle with their entire lives, she had set a boundary in public, without apology. The rest of the summit passed like a dream. Ava spent time not on stage, but in small workshops, listening more than talking. She asked young people what kept them up at night, what made them feel powerless, and what they wished grown-ups would stop pretending they understood. And as she listened, she saw the next wave of leaders taking shape. Not followers. Peers. Dreamers. Builders. Questioners. People who reminded her of herself, except braver, louder, even more imaginative. By the final evening, Ava stood under a sky full of stars, away from the crowd, barefoot in the cool grass, when Karen found her. Her mother handed her a warm drink and didn't speak for a long moment. They stood in silence, watching the wind move through the trees. You did something important today, Karen finally said. Not the speech. That too. But the honesty. You gave them permission to be human. Ava nodded, suddenly feeling the emotion she'd held back all day pressing against her chest. I don't want to be a symbol anymore, she whispered. I just want to be, me. And still make a difference. Karen smiled and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, just like when Ava was a child. You've already done that. Now go live the part they never show, the in-between. The messy middle. That's where the real story is. As the summit came to an end and guests departed, Ava stayed behind a few extra days. No cameras. No meetings. Just writing in a notebook, sketching new ideas, and finally feeling the space to dream again, not as an icon, but as a girl still asking questions. One morning, as she walked a wooded trail near the edge of the retreat center, she came across a small group of children gathered around a solar kit, one of the very first models she had helped design. They didn't know who she was at first. She didn't correct them. She simply knelt beside them and asked, "Mind if I help?" They welcomed her without hesitation. For the next hour, they worked together, laughing as they built the mini-circuit and watched the tiny fan spin to life. No one asked for a photo. No one mentioned her name. It was perfect. As she left, one of the younger girls turned to her and asked, "What made you want to make this?" Ava paused. The question wasn't extraordinary. But the timing was. And her answer, this time, was simple and full of clarity. Because I wanted to fix something I thought was unfair. And I kept going until someone listened. She smiled, nodded goodbye, and walked on. The world would still be there tomorrow, full of its demands and expectations. But for now, Ava let the silence speak. Let the wind carry the last of her childhood questions into the trees. And though her path was no longer defined by applause or articles, she knew one truth with unshakable certainty: a single question, asked with courage, could still change everything. 6 months had passed since Ava stepped back from the spotlight, and in that time, the world hadn't stopped, but she had, purposefully. Gone were the back-to-back interviews, the packed conference rooms, and the pressure to always have the right answer. In their place were quieter mornings, slow walks across campus, and lectures where she could blend into the crowd, just another student taking notes. She hadn't disappeared. She had simply paused. But even in that pause, the story she left behind was working. It lived on in classrooms, in community centers, in rural schools where solar kits sparked imaginations. It lived in the hands of children building simple machines and daring to ask, what if? And in one small town in Arizona, that story was about to light a brand new spark. Her name was Riley. 10 years old. Brown hair tied in a messy ponytail, a mind that refused to stop buzzing, and a habit of asking questions in class that made teachers pause and say, "That's actually a really good point." Riley didn't have much. Her dad worked nights, her mom was juggling 2 jobs, and internet access at home was limited to a weak signal from a neighbor's Wi-Fi. But Riley had found something that changed her, a video of Ava speaking at her foundation summit, specifically the moment she read a letter from a girl who felt too young to be taken seriously. Riley watched it 5 times. Then she picked up a notebook, scribbled furiously for hours, and brought it to school the next morning, clutching it like it contained something sacred. It did. It was her idea, a plan to use recycled parts to build low-cost wind turbines that could power LED streetlights in trailer parks and underserved neighborhoods. Her science teacher, Mr. Lopez, was stunned. "Where did this come from?" he asked. Riley pointed to her phone. "Her. Ava Garcia." Mr. Lopez smiled, then did something that changed everything. He sent an email. A long shot, he admitted to himself, but worth it. And, by some stroke of luck, or fate, that email found its way to Ava. She read it sitting on the floor of her dorm room. Finals were approaching. She had papers to write. But something about Riley's words cut through the noise. "I don't need a scholarship or a shout-out," Riley had written. "I just want someone to tell me I'm not crazy for believing this could work." Ava stared at the sentence. Her past looking back at her. And without hesitation, she replied. Not through an assistant. Not through a form letter. But with her own hands. "Hi Riley. You're not crazy. You're a builder. Let's talk." That message set off a chain reaction. What began as a few emails turned into video calls, sketches exchanged, late-night brainstorms. Ava didn't try to take over the project. She didn't make it her own. She just showed up, encouraged, and asked the right questions. "What problem are you solving? How do you want people to feel when they see your light turn on? What's the story your invention will tell?" Riley answered every one. Boldly. Sometimes nervously. But always with heart. In a few months, Riley and a team of classmates, with Ava guiding quietly in the background, built their first prototype, a basic but functioning wind-powered street lamp made entirely from discarded bicycle parts, plastic bottles, and repurposed wiring. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't high-tech. But when they flipped the switch and the soft glow lit up their school parking lot, something happened. People started paying attention. Local reporters showed up. Then a regional news outlet. Riley was invited to speak at a youth innovation panel in Phoenix. Her parents, who had always supported her dreams but never imagined them taking flight, sat in the front row with tears in their eyes as Riley spoke not about turbines or circuits, but about believing in your question. Ava Garcia once said that every invention should begin with compassion, she told the audience. So, I thought, who needs light the most where I live? And that's where I started. Back at college, Ava watched the live stream on her laptop, her roommate sitting beside her in stunned silence. "Did she just quote you?" Ava smiled, eyes misty. "Yeah. She did." That night, Ava wrote something she hadn't written in a long time, a journal entry titled, "The Next Generation." She wrote about Riley, about how every story must make room for another. How legacy isn't about holding the torch, it's about passing it. And how maybe her pause wasn't an ending, but a bridge. Soon after, Ava returned to her foundation. Not as its full-time face, but as a mentor. A quiet architect of new voices. She launched a new initiative called Light Forward, dedicated to supporting youth-led projects born from lived experiences. Riley's street lamp became the first official pilot. Others followed, ideas about clean water, accessible learning tools, microfarming. The program wasn't just about funding, it was about storytelling, mentorship, and creating a community where young innovators knew they weren't alone. The final pages of this chapter reveal a powerful truth: Ava's story wasn't meant to be singular. It was a match, lit once, so others could see where they were going. Her greatest success wasn't the technology, the awards, or even the foundation. It was the permission she gave others to believe that their voice mattered, even when the world told them otherwise. 1 year after the first email from Riley, Ava traveled to Arizona, quietly, with no press, just in time to see Riley's third-generation wind lamp installed on a corner where streetlights had never existed before. She stood beside Riley, both of them in jeans and hoodies, no stage, no cameras. Just two girls, one who had asked a question, and another who had answered. "Do you still get nervous?" Riley asked, tightening the last bolt. Ava smiled. "All the time. Especially when it matters." They stood back as the sun dipped below the horizon. The wind shifted. The blades turned. And the light came on, soft, warm, unwavering. In that glow, something unspoken passed between them. Not just pride. Not just accomplishment. But understanding. That spark, shared. That legacy, continued. That future, already unfolding. And as Ava looked up at the light shining above them, she didn't think about the past. She thought about the thousands of Rileys out there. Asking questions. Building quietly. Waiting to be seen. And she knew, without a doubt, her job wasn't to be the answer anymore. It was to be the echo that said, "Keep going. Always, keep going." Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?